Hi and welcome to another video uh, for the Vita-Launcher. So in this video I am going to introduce you to a new feature that I've added to Vita-Launcher. Is that I've added the ability to play games off a FTP server. So just before we go ahead and go through how to set that up in Vita-Launcher, at least for myself, I was having troubles trying to get an FTP server set up. For myself, in Windows, especially with the Windows 11 and the having the firewall enabled, so I'm just gonna go through a little bit of installing a FTP server and then configuring that, and especially around the firewall that's in Windows, how to uh, add the settings so that the, the Windows firewall will allow connections from the Vita. So I'm going to go ahead. So I use a software called FileZilla FTP server. I have that. I'll just go. If you already have set up a server already, then you can skip all through all these steps. So yes, I would like to start Windows on startup. Apply to use logon, apply to all use. Yeah, I'll just disable starting up the GUI for FTP server on startup. Okay, have that installed. Assuming that's installed, now we have the server installed. So before you have files open, you'll have to configure FTP server to you can use anonymous, but for myself I would like to add a password here, a username and password, so that I can just create a user account here, give it a password. I'll just give it 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. And importantly, do not force users to use TLS, since the FTP that I'm is implemented does not support the SSL. So make sure have this force TLS unchecked. So with that user setup, then you can add in some folders that you would like to share, and these are the ROMs that in my case I have stored my ROMs in the G drive. Okay, and ROMs. So I'm just going to share my entire G drive since that has ROMs for quite a few systems that I have ROMs for. So I'll just share the entire G drive. Speed limits, just leave defaults in this case. Okay. One important thing is for when setting up the SFTP server is there are two modes. There's a passive mode and an active mode. I prefer using active mode, passive mode. So when you first set this up for the first time, this is important. You want to choose custom range and choose a port range here. I prefer using in the higher range of, I'll just use, so a 10,000 to 10,100. So that 100, that allows me 100 simultaneous connections to my server. I think that's good enough in my case. So those are set up now. We have to add those ports to the Windows firewall to allow those ports to be open. So after you've set that up, open the Windows Firewall, go to Advanced Settings in my case, and an inbound rule. So I had previously added this rule, allow FTP connections, but in my case I'll create a brand new rule. You can choose a program. You can specify the SFTP server program, or in my case I'll just pick port number that I'd like to expose, their TCP, and then the specified port numbers. So this is the port numbers. 21 is a must-have, and then 10,000 to 10,100. That's a port range that I specified in my FTP server for passive mode. Allow connections, yes. I'll just allow everything there. I'm just gonna allow FTP. Okay. With this setup, I am up with it enabled with TLS. I'm just gonna do a test with a FTP client. So this is my IP 14 and demo, and password is 1234567 Okay, I'll make a connection. Okay. Alright, so this has connected and just validated that the connection is working. I can go in the ROMs folder and I can browse my ROMs. Right now that the computer is set up, the next thing is I'm going to switch over to my Vita. Okay, with my Vita started now, I am going to launch the Vita app. Okay, so the first thing you'll notice, if you go under the settings, there's a new tab here, FTP now, and here in this tab you have the IP address, the port number, the username, the password. This is the mode that you'd like to connect with FTP mode. You can deactivate passive mode. That seems to work a lot more for other users where they have firewalls. Yeah, so if you have connection problems, you might want to just see if you can disable the passive mode. Right, in my case, that's my IP, the port number, my username that I've configured is called demo. And the password, I just chose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and save that. Okay, now that's saved, you can now go to any ROM category that you would like to have your ROMs been retrieved, been found. So I'm going to go to my Nintendo 64. Now that I've FTP set up, I can go to my category and go to the ROM's path settings, and change, instead of change UX 0 to FTP. So anything with FTP 0 prefix, that would tell the Vita-Launcher to look for ROMs on the FTP server. So in my case, the ROMs folder, it's under the ROMs and N64. So I'm just going to save that and then go under action, and now I can scan the games under N64 category. Okay, so now it's connected to my FTP server and scanning for all of the games that's in there. I like the scroll view, so I'm just going to switch over to scroll view. So if you see a lot of these have a red bar next to the game, which means that the game's on the remote server, but it's not on the local on my Vita. So another thing I can do is I'll just download some thumbnails. Okay, now that the thumbnails are downloaded and back to N64 category, as you'll note here, there's some games here that has like a red bar beside them. This means that these games are still on the FTP server and they're not on the Vita. So for these games that when you start it for the first time, the Vita-Launcher will go and download it from the server and put it into the Vita's VX0 cache folder just before. And when that's downloaded, as you can see now, this game turns to green with a green bar. That means that's in the Vita's cache, and now you can start the game. It's gonna take a while to launch. And okay, so I'm just gonna close that. So, oh, just forgot for. So the cache folder is at the end here. That's where the ROMs are downloaded, and you can go to the Vita-Launcher. Go back to the Vita shell right here. So that's the SMLA, and in the cache N64 ROMs.